You're listening to Two Chunks and a Hunk. Movie musings for mostly everyone. Hello and welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and this week I'm your hunk. Oopsies.
I'm a chunk.
I'm a hunk. I'm a hunk this week.
I'm a phonic.
It's like CH apostrophe hunk. There's like a full glottal stop in that. I'm Doge and Chunks. Why is it always Chunks?
I'm Carter, and I can't leave a cat here. It'll chunk all over my floor.
Say hi to your mother for me.
Say hi to your mother for me.
Oh my God, it's Magellan's long lost treasure.
No way. Oh, that's gold under there? Underneath the rice? You're kidding me, kid. Good job, kid. Oh, I can fly. I'll jump on that. Yeah.
Jordan, why are you the hunk? Again, like always. Like almost every week it feels like.
I have battled. Look, there is every young man's battle. God gives his rootness struggles to his tootness cowboys. Yada yada yada. Look, my top three types of food are
breakfast, lunch, and dinner, baby.
I would say like Tex-Mex, probably barbecue, and then like every possible varietal of like Asian food of any kind. Thai food, Japanese food, Chinese food. I love it all.
A buffet, man.
About 18 months ago, out of nowhere, I started having adverse reactions to Asian food in the stomach area.
Why? I guess.
It was out of nowhere, and it was sudden, and Doge was actually with me. We had ordered Thai food from a place I really liked, and I was in the middle of explaining to him like how good it was. And then I was like, I'll be right back, actually. And I've tried my hand a couple times since then, and it just hasn't gone very well. Well, anyway, my team from work has decided that we're going to a team lunch today. And I was asked if I had any requests. And I said, my only request is just not Asian food. I'm down for whatever else. It breaks my heart. I love Asian food so much. I want it so badly. And then about 2 days ago, I was like, all right, we decided it's Korean barbecue. And I was like, sick.
Literally.
Thanks,
actually,
guys.
legitimately.
So, trial by fire today. We're really going to put it to the test and see, probably wear a couple diapers to lunch and just
really
let it go. Really let it go,
Man.
But yeah, so I'm hunky because we're really just going to put it to the test, and I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
Korean barbecue feels like
the easiest stepping in point. Yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say not one of the most difficult stepping in points.
Yeah, it's just meat. It's just meat.
I would say an easier stepping in point would be like, here's brown rice and soy sauce. See how that does it for you.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for that slow of a jump. No, I'm just gonna eat.
You'd rather learn to swim by being thrown out of a plane over the open ocean.
Well, and here's the deal: if there's a possibility I'm going to get sick anyway, I'm going to eat my body weight in kimchi. That's just a guarantee.
Sure.
So I mean, I'm gonna take them for all they have while I'm there.
Man, I love Korea. Full disclosure, it is 7:40 a.m. and I would love some Korean barbecue right now.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about the eating it part.
Yeah, that'll be a good part.
Some would say the best part of it.
I would say even if you're not like sensitive to a food, the eating it is definitely the most preferable part of that biological journey.
I don't think it'll be a similar experience. I don't want to take away your shine here because you don't get it. You don't get this very often.
Jump in.
But
it does feel like almost every week Jordan gets to talk about how he's the hunk for
I've been eating far less fried food than normal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm on a pretty good streak right now, but tonight is the NFL draft. Of course, we don't record necessarily on the day that we release. And I'll be out with some friends at Pluckers. And so we'll see.
Dude, I'm gonna get you some boneless Baker's Gold Pluckers wings.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, actually.
Because that's the best. Yeah.
Last time I went to Pluckers, I was coming off a pretty good streak
So
of
good.
of eating just like baked and grilled foods at home.
Mm-mm.
And I got so sick from Pluckers.
Yeah. I'm down for it though. Elbow to the sternum, kind of like
Worth it. It's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. Really,
Totally
really,
worth it.
really get the drop on it. I think
I'm
that's
trying to
great.
slow play it though, because we'll be there for a long time. For
Do you get the
hours
sweet
watching.
potato fries at Pluckers? Those sweet potato waffle
I
fries?
don't. They are very good.
They're super
I
good,
don't. Yeah, I don't. But they're very good.
That's
I
my
used to
go-to
just
move.
get
That
the.
and fried pickles. They got those fried pickle spears, and I'm a spears boy for sure.
Their queso's good too.
The mac
But
and
I
cheese
have-
balls is what's
Dang,
good.
Yeah.
I kind of need to go to Pluckers like ASAP,
Yeah.
dude.
It's so good. We could do a company dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Two Chunks.
Thanks, Two Chunks.
Yeah, we got a lot of planning to do over at Pluckers.
Yeah.
Probably be there for probably 2 meals
We
worth.
kind of do. I don't really know what the series after Multiverse of Madness
Don't
is.
reveal that. No,
But-
we know everything.
Well,
No, we
I know
haven't
that y'all
planned
do.
out.
You just haven't told me. We haven't met yet. I know y'all think of it together and then tell me.
Yes.
Well, really,
Yeah.
I think of it. I'm the idea guy. So it's
No,
sort
we've
of
planned
like-
out the whole year. We've planned out the whole year. I just need to look at the calendar.
Hey, I'm tired of not talking about this movie, so let's do it. There's a lot to say.
I'm okay to hang out here for a little while longer if we want to.
I'm excited.
There's a lot to say here.
Okay.
We're going to finish up our Video James series with the third place movie, last place released, which is why it's here in the order. It's the movie you voted as our third place movie for this series, and it is known, of course, as Uncharted. And Doge, please give me a synopsis.
This week's IMDb synopsis has no author, which of course means that it was brought back to life by Tuaret, the hippopotamus goddess, ready to dispense wisdom to us mortals.
The hippopotamus godamus.
Hippopotamus.
Street smart Nathan Drake, Tom Holland, is recruited by seasoned treasure hunter Victor Sully Sullivan,
Seasoned
Mark
my
Wahlberg,
behind.
to recover a fortune amassed by Ferdinand Magellan and lost 500 years ago by the House of Moncada. What starts as a heist job for the duo becomes a globe-trotting white-knuckle race to reach the prize before the ruthless Santiago Moncada, Antonio Banderas, who believes he and his family are the rightful heirs. If Nate and Sully can decipher the clues and solve one of the world's oldest mysteries, they stand to find $5 billion in treasure, and perhaps even Nate's long-lost brother, but only if they can learn to work together. You notice they didn't call it Funcharted.
Okay, let's.
I'm going to go right off the bat with a super dump.
Well, hold on. No, not yet.
Yeah, I love how I have to ask you, what can I do next on our podcast?
Well, that is sort of my main role, is what comes next. And what comes next is what we've been trying to do for all of these, which is what's your history with the Uncharted series?
Extensive.
Yes, agreed.
Some of my favorite games of all time.
Yes, agreed. I have played a lot of Uncharted.
I have lots of opinions about Uncharted.
Sure.
I have lots of thoughts about Uncharted, lots of praise
dabbled.
and lots of criticism for
Sure.
Uncharted. But overall,
dabbled.
a fave.
Carter, you have played how much of it?
Bits. I mean,
Bits,
hours. Just
even
a few
pieces
hours.
potentially. Yeah.
Do you know of which one? Do you remember of which one?
It was one of those that came. I think it was the one that released with the PlayStation 4.
Uncharted 4, A Thief's End.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yep. Maybe my favorite.
Yeah, it's my favorite. I think it's tough to pick between that and 2, but I think 4 is my
I
favorite.
replayed 2 about a year and a half ago. Absolutely holds up.
Yeah, it definitely holds up.
Fantastic game.
Callie and I did all 4 of them
Is
a
there
little
an
while ago.
auction that you actually attend in 4?
Yeah,
don't remember you-
in a
Is there
suit.
an auction?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, in a big mansion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You break in.
Yeah, that's
This
it.
was
Then
basic.
that's
I
what
mean,
played.
this was basically let's pull as much of Uncharted 4 as we can.
Yeah, there was a lot
That's
of
what-
4's DNA here in this movie.
Yeah, that's what was weird to me. Is like I feel like I haven't played a lot, but more of this feels familiar than I thought it would.
Yeah, 4 gets
But there's other
into
reasons for that.
4 introduces Sam and introduces no, it's not 4 that introduces Nate and Sully's backstory.
Yeah,
That's
it is
3.
Oh no, it is 3, right? Because Sully's a big part of the climax of that game.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. So yeah, we're coming at this with a lot of prior knowledge of what this series is.
What's
and
yours?
A lot of,
You didn't answer. What's yours?
No, I did. I've played all 4 multiple times. I just played all 4 like within the last calendar year with Callie.
Yeah.
Very, I would say, extensive knowledge of the Uncharted series. The only thing I haven't played is the Chloe and Nadine
Lost Legacy.
Yeah, I haven't played that one, but
either.
I've heard it's a contender for best one. So I'm interested to play it.
Yeah, I haven't played that one, and I haven't played Golden Abyss, the like PS.
Oh yeah, nobody's
PSP
played
one.
Golden Abyss. Yeah. It's like the mobile game of the PlayStation world.
Sure, yeah.
So Doge, hit us. What's your super dump?
This entire cast is wrong.
Interesting.
Antonio Banderas is about the only, and honestly, Chloe's decent.
Chloe worked for me.
But none of the cast worked. Like, as somebody who has played the games multiple times, has like a pretty high opinion and a close affinity to the games, I'm absolutely willing for actors to take up the mantle of the Pixel boys that I've played with for hours and hours and hours.
Sure.
Right? Like, it's not bothering me that it is not Nolan North voicing Nathan Drake.
Who's in this, by the way?
Who is in this. And there was that moment when they saw him on the beach when I was like, oh my God, that's Nathan Drake.
That was very fun.
way.
Maybe my favorite Easter egg of all of this
Of our
whole
series.
series. Yes.
You know, something like
was
that
a
happened to
ton
me
of fun.
once. Yeah, that was very good.
His voice
Love
just
Tom
feels
Holland.
right.
Love Tom Holland. He's doing great. Love Mark Wahlberg. He's doing great. The wrong boys for this, I think. I didn't for a second not think Tom Holland was a high schooler in this.
Sure.
And it's because he finished filming this and then like 2 days later started filming Spider-Man No Way Home, where he plays a high schooler.
Right. Yeah. He's a young looking gentleman.
Like the whole thing, like the whole movie, I was like, where are your parents? Like Nate and Chloe, like I love that Mark Wahlberg is here to chaperone your field trip. And like our main villain, what's her name? She's not Nadine, but she's basically Nadine
Yeah,
from the
she's
games.
essentially Nadine.
Braddock.
Less redeemable than Nadine.
Less redeemable than Nadine. Also felt like a really, really mean high school senior. Like, why are these people okay with the fact that you killed Antonio Banderas and now they're following you, a
They
high
did
school
nothing.
senior?
She talked like a cartoon cat that was trying to seduce a dog. That's how she talked the whole time.
Chelsea kept saying she feels like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like everything she said was like, oh, and there's more to do here. It's like, talk with your full voice.
Yeah. So super dump for me would be the cast. I think
Sure.
it just like across the board is a swing and a miss. It was even funny to me to cast young Tom Holland, Tiernan Jones, who played young Tom Holland, because he doesn't look that much younger than Tom Holland.
That's funny.
So this is very good. Tom Holland worked for me as a young Nathan Drake. I think I'm fine with
Really?
it. Yeah, I think I'm fine with it. I don't feel like my issues come from other things, but yeah, he worked for me as a young Nathan Drake. He's got that sort of charm and charisma that you need in young Nathan Drake. To me, the hard part is Nolan North. His voice is so good and so iconic to me that to me it's more voice than anything else that was tough to get past. Like we start the movie with an "oh crap," which is like a pretty Nathan Drake phrase, and it cracked me up in the movie the same way it does in the games because people say worse words than crap all the time in both, but he loves "oh crap" as his home base.
Yeah.
But there's something Nolan North has a way of saying it where crap has 18 syllables, where it's like, oh crap, like it's so big and wide, and Tom Holland just didn't have that. But yeah, I mean, for an on-screen young Nathan Drake, yeah, Tom Holland is fine for me, I guess. It wouldn't have been my first choice, but that's okay. Chloe was probably, I think, the best casting choice here
I agree.
in this movie. I think she was really fun. I actually liked Antonio Banderas too. I think
I did too. As
I think
himself.
that he was a supremely
for
Uncharted
real.
villain.
Absolutely.
The world. I'm fine if Antonio Banderas just becomes kind of a recurring, just evil guy in the rest of the roles that he ever plays. He's so fun as a villain, especially when he gets older.
Yep.
Yes.
I enjoyed that
Because
a
his
lot.
voice is just so good. Butter.
I do want to say to this movie, there are several points I have in this movie's favor, and one of them is this opening scene is unbelievably Uncharted.
Yes.
The in media res beginning where he is in immediate peril and must climb something that's falling or moving to get safe again. Like that is such it. I think most iconically, the opening of Uncharted 2 starts with a train crash that you don't know how it happened, and Nate has to climb up a train dangling off of a mountain, and that's like pretty major.
Wonderful. Isn't the plane thing, isn't that like completely from Uncharted 3? Doesn't he have to climb up the cargo boxes in a plane at the beginning of Uncharted 3?
Is that how you end up in the desert in Uncharted 3?
I think so.
Yeah, that might be right. Prob's going to have to go replay those games again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely lit my fire a little bit again for the games, just seeing the action. Yeah, and I think look, my list of problems is longer than my list of pros for this movie, if I'm being honest. And it begins pretty immediately with our flashback to Nathan and Sam, which is, I think, too early to introduce and not really the most interesting part of Nate's story. And it leads me to believe, honestly, that we don't need an Uncharted prequel, and we should have just done we're doing the first game, and it's not going to be exactly the same, and we'll deal with it.
Like we set up in our post-credits scene.
Yeah, like literally.
The last one, we're setting up, they're about to go on the adventure that is Uncharted 1.
We found Nazi maps, and we're going to go get actual Sir Francis Drake's money. Just
Do you feel like it hurt this movie to have it try and be like the video game? I found myself just wishing that we had Wahlberg and Tom without having to pay any kind of reverence to past characters besides the past characters in whatever you would call treasure hunting canon. Like just
like a generic adventure movie.
Yeah, try and summon some Indiana Jones, do a little bit of, I don't know. I think what was tough is it felt oddly confined. It felt like we had to not necessarily let these guys just let loose.
Yeah.
Which is silly. Like if you're already changing Nathan Drake so much, then just let Tom Holland be. I personally don't get to, I think he was held back with even as an executive producer, which we'll talk a little bit about the influence he had on making this movie. But like, I was just appalled by the chemistry between him and Mark Wahlberg. I was like, these guys are some of the best at like Mark Wahlberg just bantering. Is my favorite character, one of my favorite characters in movies.
Right.
I kept thinking Departed, The Other Guys, all these things that he's done before.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's just not, it felt kind of lazy. This felt like a project between projects. We do know that Tom Holland went straight to the No Way Home set after this was done, this movie was done.
Yep.
And in my mind, I was like, if I could reverse things, I think this would have been a better Uncharted if it was actually filmed after No Way Home was filmed. Because to me,
could probably let loose a little more
in a movie that was just full of so many iterations of nostalgia and just awesome effects and villains, and just everybody was there and things were getting rewritten. Tom Holland was my favorite thing about No Way Home. That was my super pump because I felt like his acting performance there was kind of a catalyst moment.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that moment did not come before this movie. I feel like if Tom Holland had his give everything performance that he had from No Way Home and then did this, I bet he's got a different lens. He's also just a baby boy enough that his brain is still, it feels like he's still growing into the kind of person that he's supposed to be.
Sure.
And the timing was off here. I wish this wasn't first because it felt like he was acting with the pressure of knowing he's about to make the biggest movie of his life on the set that was not the biggest movie of his life, and he knew it. I don't know.
This movie has kind of been in development hell for, close to a decade by the time it releases.
Long time.
Mark Wahlberg actually was attached to this movie to play Nathan Drake and graduated into Sully because he was attached to it for so long and it took so long to make this movie.
Wild. And the names too that were attached to this. It was basically like Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Right? It's like De Niro and Pacino and Pesci, right? It was like
as Sully, which here's the thing about me. Like, I think of 10 years ago, a Mark Wahlberg as Nathan Drake and a Joe Pesci as Victor Sullivan, I think that hits me way better than this does.
I think so too.
Because I think that's closer to the spirit of the characters in the games. I think the way to do this is we've already confirmed with The Lost Legacy that Uncharted can be an anthology series about treasure hunting, that it doesn't have to just be the story of Nathan Drake.
Right.
Yeah.
We should have just made a treasure hunting movie.
And let Nate Drake roll through the background or be...
Nate Drake roll through the background.
A phone call or something.
Absolutely. Like we just call him and it's Nolan North voicing him. But like, I really, really don't think this needed to be a Nathan Drake origins because ultimately it felt like a young adult tie-in novel to Uncharted. To me.
I agree.
Yeah.
My super dump is the character of Sully, just all around. I think Mark Wahlberg's a horrible casting decision for Sully.
Yeah.
Like, awful casting decision for Sully. like, not even close. And also the writing of Sully in this movie was all over the place and bad. Like,
he's not a good treasure hunter.
He's not a good treasure hunter. And he has like this Disney villain moment at the end where he's holding a literal bag of gold and then watching this kid that he's dragged into this hunt about to die. And he has to weigh his options.
I had to save the decoration.
Like, just throw the bag. And it's just not, they wanted a moment that they didn't earn with their writing at the end when it's like, we're partners, we're buddies. And it's like, you're not though. You took advantage of a kid. The character of Sully is just terrible in this movie. And Mark Wahlberg, who I do usually find fun in movies, was just flat and awful.
The part that stands out to me is when we keep cutting back to Mark Wahlberg in the grate, like above the little underground section where they have to use the crosses. And it just kept cutting back to him doing and saying the same exact thing. Hey, kid, what do you see down there? Kid, what do you see down there? Like, 8 times.
It's like,
I was so tired of Mark Wahlberg by the end of this movie.
Which is sad.
Him showing up with the mustache was fun.
I mean,
the mustache doesn't change much, but
no, it doesn't. But it was fun.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It feels like they're cowards and should have just given him the mustache through the whole movie.
I'm trying not to be that guy where it's like if you think that showing Sully with a mustache is going to get me excited, then make him have a mustache the whole movie.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Right.
I agree. It feels like this is a better movie if they do Uncharted 1 and just take some creative liberties.
Yeah.
I think Sam Eagle would have been a better Sully than Mark Wahlberg was.
That's pretty good. Honestly, the best possible Sully is J.K. Simmons, and it's not even close.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, it's not even close.
There's the Uncharted fan film that has Nathan Fillion as Nathan Drake, which that is
inspired. That is just
primo casting from about a decade ago. And Stephen Lang plays Victor Sullivan, which is real nice.
I like that.
Ooh, me likey that.
Have you not seen that fan film?
No, I have not.
Dude, I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah, please.
It is, the whole time I was watching this, I was just like, that is so much more Uncharted than this is.
Is it? Okay, yeah, I
and that's fine. Like, this is a great, like, that's the thing is this is a totally fine and serviceable action-adventure treasure hunter movie. And I think I would like it a lot more if they didn't promise me that this was actually Uncharted. And
you know
that was
what I found
actually
myself
Nathan
thinking?
Drake.
Because I liked Chloe, I thought Chloe was pretty good. And Chloe's one of my favorite characters from the game. She's incredibly nuanced and very interesting. This should have been a Chloe prequel, dude.
Yep.
That's more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And by the way, the whole thing is that Nate and his brother have been after Sir Francis Drake's fortune their whole lives.
Right.
So making it Magellan's fortune and then him turning to Francis Drake's fortune is a little goofy.
It's stupid because their last name, and we find out, I think it's in
the fourth game,
that they just gave themselves the last name Drake.
Yeah, it's not their real last name.
It's not their real last name, but the whole time they've been claiming like we are the heirs of Sir Francis Drake. We have to find his treasure, all of this stuff. We didn't even know Sam existed until the fourth game, which I think is a way better character. It's just, they make character choices here that are done so much better in the games. And trying, I really do think that the cardinal sin of this movie is trying to be a live action adaptation of the games. I used to work with somebody whose kids called live action movies live skin movies.
Ew.
It's gross, but that's the only phrase that was coming to my mind. It took me a second to think of live action. So the fact that this is a live skin version of a story that has been done better is like the frustrating
I don't
thing.
think that's the problem for me, at least. To me, it feels like it's a fanfic of something that they could have just adapted and been fine. Like,
see, I think even if they had done Uncharted 1, I would have come away from it going, that's great, but boy, Uncharted is so good. I'd rather play that.
Sure.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough ruins. We should have been in ruins more.
Yeah,
I don't think things like the climb back into the plane, the fall out of the plane, those look silly to me. When we watch them on a screen, they remind me of Uncharted, but they look silly in a way that the game doesn't feel silly to me while you're doing that.
Sure.
Yeah. I think something that makes the Uncharted movie, I'm glad it ended up coming last. And remember, Chunkies, that's because this was, you could now have it on digital. That's why we had to wait for the end instead of having to go to the movies. But of all the movies, so we've got like the story of Pokemon, Sonic, Mario, and even Prince of Persia was not super in-depth into some kind of like character development. It does feel like Uncharted was the one that already was a movie.
Yes.
It's like this was an experiential storytelling adventure, right? It's one thing to jump around and collect coins and rings. It's another thing completely to have family dynamic. And it was like the first time that we got that. And so here is what you're going to get. This is the lens. This is what happens when you make these movies. And so you have to think, and before we go to our ads, I know we're close to that. One of the most shocking things to me was before the movie even started, that it kind of felt like they weren't making a big deal out of, and then just kind of show this kind of fancy intro of, here's the PlayStation multiverse.
Dude, that intro was cool. I liked that intro.
But why was that news to me? I think I could assume that with an Uncharted movie and Last of Us is on the way, it's like, okay, who's footing the bill here? It's a little branch of what Sony does. But it was like, oof, like we didn't make this a big thing. You know, there's a difference between, we talk about like, when cinematic universes begin, like how do those begin? No one can recreate what happened with Iron Man, right? Because even then we're like, there is no assumption that something else is coming unless you've been following the news. And they're like, oh, you know, I remember the news coming out that like Samuel L. signed on for 19 films. It was like ridiculous. Like, okay, so they're serious about this. But to just kind of
do something called Avengers.
They just kind of introduce this thing that isn't in theaters for too long. But here's the PlayStation, and they kind of give us teases of all these characters, right? Here's this massive inoculation of nostalgia, and then the payoff is this movie. And I was just like, bummer. I got worried for The Last of Us, but I think there's enough different pieces there.
I would say Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann's direct involvement is enough to at least make me feel far more hopeful about The Last of Us.
It's like the MCU started with Thor the Dark World, right? It's like, okay, well, that's a bummer.
Not with a bang, but with a fart.
But if we, the good thing about Sony is it doesn't matter if the movie's bad, they'll keep making them. So they're going to have their shots. They're going to have their shots to do it here.
That is correct. And, you know, I think it's difficult when you want to start making video game movies about more modern video games than like a Super Mario Brothers or something, because the temptation is to go after the best stories in the games first, right? So it's like Uncharted has a great story, so let's adapt that because it's easy. But we're not good at making video game movies yet. So Uncharted, a great game, now is the victim of being one of the first live action video game adaptations of the 2020s when we're not good at them yet. So one of the best games is going, I think, to long run end up being one of the worst movies of video game adaptations because it went first. And it went first because it's so appealing to pick. So it's this weird sort of like curse. The good game's going to get the worst adaptation early.
It's because I think Uncharted doesn't lend itself to movies.
Oh, I disagree.
It's because I think the story of 1 through 4 is cinematic enough, and it is told in a way like Uncharted, the games are trying to be a movie.
Yes,
they're trying to make us feel like Indiana Jones or like National Treasure or like those. They're trying to be treasure hunting movies. Mm-hmm. And so when we take a game that's trying to be a movie and then we make a movie that's trying to be a game that's trying to be a movie, it's a copy of a copy of a copy. And I think that that's what I keep coming back to is like, just make a good treasure hunting movie and call it Uncharted, but don't try to do what has already been done, because I've already seen, like Carter said, a cinematic feeling version of Nathan Drake's story. So this felt more like a reboot than like a first movie to me.
I'd be okay with a reboot as long as it distanced itself. Like I'd be okay if it was still Nathan Drake and Sully if it was different enough, but it had too much in common.
Doge, how would you feel if there was an announcement that Naughty Dog was going to make an Indiana Jones video game?
I'd be 100% in on that.
Yeah. It's just so interesting, like the reverse. Because what's so funny too is movies becoming video games are never good either. It's like this weird relationship that's like, what do we do?
Because I think Naughty Dog as a studio...
Spider-Man 2 would beg to differ, but
I didn't think about
Naughty Dog as a studio knows how to make long-form interactive movies that are very great.
Correct.
And very affecting. I think that they probably, to me at least, have the market cornered on like incredibly nuanced cinematic interactive storytelling. And I just don't know that needs to be reverse engineered into a movie.
Yeah.
It's all valid. We all watched this on my Amazon account, and you guys have just been buying so much stuff that I am financially ruined. So we got to go to shout announcements so I can try and make a little bit of that.
Yeah, all my
back.
new supplements to get shredded just got here, so I got to go get those too.
Yeah, whey protein is spelled WHEY. I can see your searches. You just keep typing WAY Prot over and over.
Yeah, it was because I didn't have my brain octane. I'm getting that today too.
Nice.
Thanks, Joe Rogan. It's shout announcements. You already know that, though, because we said it a second ago.
It's clear.
And that's
very
important.
clear.
It's important to me that you know that.
It smells different in here, in this part of the show.
The other thing that's important to me is that you rate and review our show on whatever
For real,
podcatcher you use. Give us stars. Give us words. It takes almost no time and does unimaginable good for us. Really, it's the best possible thing you could do besides telling your friends.
Yeah, we don't even have 100 reviews on Spotify yet. That's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. We've got so many reviews on iTunes, but not enough on Spotify.
We're a top 25 TV and film review podcast in Brazil, and we don't have 100 reviews on
You know
Spotify.
how many we should have? A Brazilian.
Sorry, you cut out there.
Yeah.
We should have a Brazilian reviews.
You keep cutting out when you get to the second part of it.
We're in the top 25 of Brazil. We should have one Brazilian reviews.
Oh, you were there that time. It just wasn't good.
Yeah. maybe they have two in common.
That was gold, and I will stand by it.
Am I next?
I think it's me. My favorite episode of What If is the one that's called What If My Friends Were As Excited About Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness as I Am, enough so that they would watch What If. Next week, we're going to be talking about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and we're going to discover whether or not my friends are excited enough about it to watch What If in between now and then. I know I've watched it, and I know I'm very excited about it, and we hope you're excited about it too, because that is the next episode that we're going to be releasing.
Marvel's just not really my thing, It's just like...
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
If you're not excited about it, you're going to you have to listen to it. I mean, you can't skip an episode. That would be silly. So listen to it, but you might not enjoy it.
If you are really excited about the multiverse, and you're really excited about our podcast, and you're really excited about talking about things, then just pay for it. You know what I'm saying? We've got a $3 tier and a $5 tier for Patreon. Our $3 tier gets you extra bonus episodes and extra votes, including, do they get an extra vote? They don't.
For the
Do they
championship?
get an extra vote in the
For the
championship?
championship, they do.
Do we
They
want
do.
them to?
Okay.
That's what we
I
said,
think
right?
let's do it. We've got the power. Yeah.
We can do it. Let's do it.
An extra
let's do
vote
it.
for the championship is Spring Delirium, which is, again, my friends, Pikachu against Link.
Wow.
In the final of Spring Delirium. Voting on the greatest video game character of all time. You can also have that $5 tier, which is our Discord chat, which is growing every week and is becoming more and more of this community to the point to where if you wanted to start to plan things that Two Chunks does, you're getting close because there's a lot of good ideas in the Discord chat very recently of things that we can do for you, the Chunkies. Giving you that voice and being a part of that has been, I think, one of the most satisfying parts of this podcast. And so if you want to join that, it's just $5 and it's pretty easy.
It's pretty easy, just like our show.
It's just pretty easy.
I noticed we haven't really talked a lot about the plot, and that's because there really isn't much of one. It sort of is just a thread that strings together some spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'd like to talk about some bits of that spectacle, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So here's some things that didn't work for me.
That'll be a good change of pace because we've been so positive up to this point.
The parkour was par poor.
And it was par for the course.
Very good. Very good. We spent far too much time on those keys and tunnels. I'll tell you that right now.
We were there for a long time.
It felt like a full third of our movie was just like two groups of people trying to go turn some keys.
Well, that is how long we would have spent if this were a game. But we also would have had much more than 1 hour and 56 minutes to do other things.
See, I disagree. I don't think we would have spent a third of our time in one location in an Uncharted game.
No, not
Oh, you mean
percentage
actual
wise.
time?
I think
Yes.
easy 40 minutes to an hour of gameplay would be the catacombs there
Hundo
with the
P.
cross keys.
Totally with
But
you.
we can't do a 1-to-1 thing because this is not a 30-hour movie.
Yeah. This did feel like National Treasure and a bad Mission Impossible had a baby a lot of times.
Okay, I've got to reveal this now. So it's my super dump and super pump are tied together.
Oh.
I found myself having this kind of like, have you ever gone to a coin star before?
Yeah.
You dump all the coins in and it's kind of like loosening things up and putting things where they need to be, counting your coins for you. And sometimes there's like lint that it can't take because you're like, oh, I didn't know that was in there. Oh, that's not actually American currency. It doesn't fit perfectly into one of these perfect holes or whatever. But so I was kind of filtering from the start. My Uncharted experience began with a little bit Uncharted, a little bit National Treasure, a little bit Indiana Jones, kind of like, what am I looking for here? Like, what am I trying to find? What is this experience? It's kind of this thing that we do where we inherit certain rules, laws, environments of past environments in any kind of conversation or relationship that we get into. So here's my relationship with Uncharted. I'm going through all that stuff. And here became my super dump in this area was, I don't know what it is. It doesn't really know what it's supposed to be. Was my super dump in general. That can be manifest through the script, the chemistry. There were just many signs pointing to it doesn't know what's going on. And on top of that, we said, this is our platform product for a new production company. Oops, super dump. Now my super pump happened when actually things like the parkour are happening. Tom Holland is jumping onto lights that are hanging from this auction.
That's not what I'm talking about with parkour. I'm talking about the actual like parkour. I like that part that you're talking about.
Okay. All of these stunts, which by the way, Tom Holland is a stunt boy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so then here
he's
becomes
an action star in the making, I think.
Here's my super pump.
Okay.
And it became when after all this filtering, I look down and the receipt comes out and it tells me what I got. And it said Rush Hour. And I thought, oh, okay. I'm going to start watching this movie with a Rush Hour lens.
Sure.
Then I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Which is not what Sony paid for.
Sure.
This is not what $120 million cost is Rush Hour, right? The actual Rush Hour was about $30 million and it made almost 10 times the amount that it cost. It was a success just because of the chemistry, right? Here's what it should have been. And then, we make Uncharted and it doesn't hardly make 3 times the amount that it cost. But we got Rush Hour. And then I was like, okay, so my super pump for No Way Home was the acting chops that we got to see of Tom Holland. My super pump is another jewel in the gauntlet of Tom Holland that becomes an actor that I'm more and more actually into this movie being more excited for him because of his stunt boy stuff.
Sure.
It's one thing to put on the suit and assume Peter Parker's going to do these things. It's another thing to see Tom Holland's face doing legitimately the stuff that a lot of people weren't totally sure he was doing. Have y'all seen the video of producing No Way Home where he's jumping around the cars?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like, this is legitimate stuff. This felt like Jackie Chan. This felt like Bruce Lee kind of stuff that he's doing. Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Like a dancer and a gymnast long before he was ever cast as Spider-Man.
In the sports world, we call that a utility player. You can play any role. And so I'm just like, that got me pumped because what I did was filter the Rush Hour of it all.
You're totally right. Like, he is a Jackie Chan archetype without a doubt. You are absolutely right.
Dude.
Did you guys see that thing? I think it was an interview he gave where he talked about these stunts are the most difficult stunts he's ever done in a movie because for all the Spider-Man stuff, like they might be more physically demanding, but he doesn't have to really think with his face because it'll be covered. He's like, it was weird to me to have to do these stunts and remember people are going to see my face and I have to act with my face while also doing these things with my body.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for the coffee. Very kind of you.
That tiptoe, that T-Rex tiptoe is so good.
Yeah, that was like a cartoon
T-Rex
character.
Chelsea just brought Carter some coffee and through the background of the screen, she's got her arms up like a T-Rex and does like a cartoon tiptoe.
It's her with her dad on a cruise we had together. It's amazing.
That was a very Looney Tunes sneak.
It was a Looney Tunes sneak.
She's hunting wabbits.
I would love to super pump and join some of the positivity here.
Can I say one more Jackie Chan thing for me?
Please.
The reason I bring up the parkour elements is because there is a moment where I think that's what you're referring to in terms of him running away from our Scottishman, from Scotty, and kind of going through and like lifting his legs up in this kind of unrealistic way that he's actually doing made me think of in Rush Hour when he's running away from somebody and does that famous like goes through essentially the slot of a security door.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And he would do that many times and end up hurting himself. And some of the greatest stories are like, I can't believe the things that he was accomplishing. How did he get his body to do that? That felt so.
Yeah.
And it's odd. I think in the massive pool of actors and actresses and all the movies that we've watched and all the characters we've experienced, it is fun to see combinations that we might not have seen before.
Sure.
In terms of the breadth of what some actors can do. Because I don't think there's a lot of that. We have our chiseled massive boys. We have the Rocks of the world. But we don't have a lot of that Jackie Chan charm vibe that I can remember. It's either that or it's just the shtick of having like the Chris Tucker, like the Kevin Hart of today.
Well, you either get like the physicality of the fighting stuff with like a Jason Statham, but he has none of the charm. Or you get all of the charm in like a Ryan Reynolds, but I don't consider him like a physical actor in that way. I'm not saying he doesn't do some of that stuff, but not in that same way. So Tom Holland being both is a very rare Jackie Chan archetype, and that's very
exciting.
cool. That's a lot of fun.
Huge career.
And so what I was going to say, I love that Scotty fight. I love when he like tries to drop kick him, but he's so much bigger than him that he just ends up essentially jumping off of him. Yeah.
That felt very Uncharted.
Incredibly
The interactions between Nathan Drake and the Scottish guy was absolutely Uncharted.
When he's like, wait, what did you say? I think that's so great.
I seriously can't understand you. Yeah.
No, the parkour I'm referring to that I did not care for was specifically chasing Chloe.
Oh, yeah.
And it just felt like, it's 2006.
Yeah.
It's 2006, and we just found out that people jump over rooftops.
The music in this was also incredibly generically 2006 action movie.
Yep.
Music.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'd like to super pump, please.
That's what's so wild. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you know what? Carter, you finish.
But the composer is Westworld and Game of Thrones.
Sure.
Yeah. I think his direction was make it
is it
just
Ramin Djawadi?
Yes.
Is it really?
What happened?
His direction had to be make it just like National Treasure.
Sure.
Ew. Why would you do that? I'm sorry.
No,
go ahead.
That's great. That's a good point. My super pump is flying boats. It's flying boats. It's everything from flying boats to the end of the movie. Specifically, if I had to pinpoint it, it's when he puts on the vest and the theme song from Uncharted plays, and then he goes out and he just is Nathan Drake for the next 15 minutes. And that should have been the entire movie. All of that energy, flying boats, people swinging from boat to boat like pirates, except they're 100 feet in the air. The swashbuckling with old swords for no reason. He's wearing the vest.
No,
and the Uncharted.
There is a reason, because that was the climax of Uncharted 4 with the old swords.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
Was getting myself tickled imagining Darth Diesel coming from his cryo state and looking out and just no, like that was like he's like
I wanted to fly boats.
That's such a what it feels like current day, like what does the Fast series have left?
Yes,
and then this happening, and it was like you can't do this anymore, dude.
Yeah, you can't fly a boat, Vin.
All of that with the vest, the Uncharted theme song, the cannonball to take down the helicopter, all of that was so Uncharted that I almost forgot how bored I was for the other 70 minutes of the movie. And I think that the last scene, just helicopters picking up boats when they go, she's lifting them out. As soon as they said those words, that to the end of the movie, I was like, all right, this is pretty fun. I really, really
That's exactly
loved
the sentiment. Chelsea and I kept looking at each other kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like tiny shrugs of like, I'm in.
Their first attack is to swing out for no reason and risk their lives by swinging out over 100 feet. Like, it's so stupid, and I love it.
Here's the thing. Let me tell you my least favorite thing with it feels like somehow there is no reason for anyone to ever look at a treasure hunting movie and think that physics need to be at play.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's never happened. Indy and the crew rode down a waterfall on an inflatable raft.
They used that raft as a parachute first.
Get over it. Like when people are like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's a treasure. This is the closest thing to superhero movies. Like it has never been super realistic. I can't think of.
I don't think I want it to be.
Globe trotting.
Do you want to watch 8 hours of somebody digging a hole?
No.
Watch Discovery Channel. Watch Geraldo Rivera open Al Capone's tomb.
Yeah, right.
That's what real treasure hunting is.
It's just not going to happen. So that needs to be, I don't know where it came in that we were like, this needs to be realistic.
Right. Yeah.
That's not a fun treasure movie for me.
I just had a total and complete blast for the last 25 minutes of this movie. And
it was fortunate that was at the end.
Yep.
Because if that was our middle, oof, what a bummer. That might have, the flying ships might have changed my rating for the better.
I think it did mine as well.
No.
Not enough to salvage the movie, but...
Not me. Didn't change me. I haven't super pumped yet.
Yeah, you should.
Do it.
We're closing up here.
Tom Holland does a good job with what he's given.
That's what I was saying at the beginning, that I still find
what
him
he gave
charming.
himself?
I do not like the things that Tom Holland is given.
Correct.
But he does fine with them.
Yeah.
Tom Holland is a perfectly serviceable lead in a mediocre treasure hunting movie, but I do not for a second think that he's actually Nathan Drake, even young Nathan Drake.
I think he's a good young Nathan Drake. I buy it.
PlayStation Studios and Sony Studios eat in the same cafeteria, right? It's like, it feels hurried because No Way Home is coming, right?
Yeah.
And so it feels like they were trying to hit before the iron was hot. I don't know.
You got to capitalize on Tom Holland.
It's too much of a bummer to think about it because it will bum me out. But this could have been great if they
wanted to
done it right.
He wanted to do Young Bond ages ago, and Sony was like, "No, we can't do that." And then they're like, "Oh, but I bet he could be a good Nathan Drake.
But
let's have him executive produce." And then he's got so much power too early.
Mm-hmm.
I think we gave him too much power way too early.
Drake or Tom?
Tom Holland. In terms of what Sony was having him if you executive produce a movie at that age too, they're kind of giving you a lot of responsibility, are they not?
Yeah.
Executive producer credits often don't really mean anything.
Yeah.
They're sort of like a special
honorific.
Yeah.
Even
so
still,
Tom Holland being executive producer, he probably partially funded the movie, but I'm not sure that extends to much creative or decision making,
Right. But why is Tom funding a movie for a massive production company?
Sony's not doing great, man. They just made Morbius.
It just feels like they're just making such bad decisions.
Yes. They should stop making movies and start licensing out their properties to other studios.
Yeah.
That's what they really need to be doing.
A long, hard look in the mirror and see, is this the kind of studio I want to be?
Yeah. Yeah. Tom, though, himself was far from the worst thing about this movie.
Oh, yeah.
He was great.
Yeah.
And so
the worst
I think
thing was
we're right there.
Sully and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
The worst thing was Mark Wahlberg.
He was pretty bad. He wasn't doing so hot.
He wasn't doing a great
He
job.
wasn't the best.
He wanted me to
Not
say
the
hi
best
to my
I've seen,
mom,
kid.
but I don't want my mom to see it, So
There was a fun goof that in the movie. Oh, there were several. First of all, gold doesn't weigh very much anymore.
Also,
that
wouldn't
shield
stop a
was
bullet for sure.
Funny. So there's a moment where they are going into the church for the first time. Well, they actually don't go into the church as soon as they get there because it's closing. What? These people break into stuff. Wait.
Let's come back tomorrow. They said we can't go in.
Let's come back at midnight.
Sorry,
when there's a mass.
We gotta do some character development, and we can't do it while we're running. So let's go sit in the hotel.
Yep.
But it was like we can't go in yet because they're closing, and we want to respect that. Wait, that is so funny to me.
We're treasure hunters, but we're not trespassers.
Yeah, it's like Danny Ocean being like, "Oh,
they said
Sunday.
no. They said no. I tried to walk in. They said no.
I do love it. Danny Ocean does always drive the speed limit, which is very admirable.
That is true.
We got to get away.
True.
It's 65. What do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? It's 65.
Was that supposed to be George Clooney?
It was George Clooney.
Way to take a shot. Nobody ever takes a shot at George. You did well. I think I've never heard anybody try it before.
The halfway decent George.
You were doing more of a Bruce Wayne.
The best Bruce Wayne, some would say.
I wouldn't. It's time to rate this movie, though. Uncharted?
Yep.
And we're going to rate it using the scientific cinema scale, which, as we all know, is perfect and as follows. The best thing we could ever say about a movie is own it, don't lend it, buy that poster. The next best thing is buy it. That's followed by rent it and then stream it. After that is forget it. And last, but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie. God hath forsaken us. I'll go first. Beat you. I'm going to stream this. It would have been a forget for me, honestly. But the last 30 minutes alone are so worth it because they're really, really, really fun. And two boats flying on helicopters and then shooting with a cannonball swinging some swords is pretty great. And it got bonus emotion points from me because the is ingrained in my soul.
Yeah.
I'll stream it too because I think it can be fixed. I think they have an awareness of it too. The worst thing about bad movies when there's more bad movies is people feel completely unawares. And Sony tends to be an ingredient for that often because we just did Morbius just a few weeks ago. But I do think that the timing of this, while it was bad, can provide some grace later because we did do this before No Way Home technically was made. I think Tom has grown a bit. And I think there's enough momentum on the video game to movie franchise train that they're going to do it anyways. I think the next Uncharted movie will be better.
I'll tell you this. I will see it.
Yeah, maybe. If we do it for the podcast, I'll see it.
I'm going to forget this movie. It is absolutely fading from my mind like Bing Bong as Riley grows up.
So you're sad to see it go.
I liked the last, once, like Jordan, like you talked about, once he put on the shoulder holsters things, I liked that. And once the theme came, I liked that. And then I immediately got upset because it's like, this is what it should have been. Why wasn't it this the whole time? I'm going to completely forget this movie because it is a mediocre, it's a 6 out of 10 action adventure treasure hunter movie. And I think it is a 1 out of 10 adaptation of Uncharted. I think this is just not Uncharted. And that's fine. If they had released this and called it Tom Holland's Big Day, I would like it a lot more, but it's just not Uncharted.
Tom Holland looks for treasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that.
Tom Holland's Big Day.
Sequel to Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Our director did Venom, by the way.
Yeah, that tracks.
And Gangster Squad.
I think that...
And Zombieland.
If it's pretty good, there's a very good chance that what we see is that The Last of Us convinces a lot of people that miniseries is the way to go for video game adaptations because there's more time.
Do you get to say, does that get to take the crown from Witcher, or did Witcher already do that?
I don't think that I consider Witcher a video game adaptation.
I don't either.
I do, 100%.
It is not the story of the games. It is not at all the storytelling in the games.
I think that doesn't matter.
Well,
it's the characters. It's the IP. If the IP is coming from something that...
I think the IP...
But the video game characters come from the books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the books are first.
Okay.
So just stop, dude. It's the books.
I'm done.
Books, dude.
I think you wanted me to rebuttal. You wanted me to rebut, but I did not.
I don't want any buts. Not rebuts, not your butt.
Okay.
Let's just agree to disagree, dude.
Y'all only get to make that argument because you get to push, I think the majority of people don't know that they were books first.
That's probably accurate. And if we're going to lump Witcher in with video game series, then yes, that is absolutely part of the equation for knowing that miniseries are better for long form storytelling.
This is a poor measurable, but it's like I feel like more people after watching Henry Cavill as Geralt are going to go try and look for the video game if they've never played it or play that again, then go get the book.
Yeah, that's probably true.
You're probably right.
Thank you.
But I don't want to hear it. Okay?
You're probably right, but I think you're wrong.
So you're not ever going to see in any kind of list of top video game adaptation shows, you're never going to see The Witcher won't show up because they've got enough people to push their glasses up that say, well, actually.
No, it definitely will appear in those. I would say that I personally would not consider it a video game adaptation just because it doesn't. Now, what I would love, Carter, honestly, I would love for them to take the show, do the books, and then continue into the games and tell those stories too. I think that, or actually, best of both worlds would be to just sort of make a little stew.
I think that's where we're going with the Wild Hunt stuff.
Yep, I would just really love that because I think that the video games tell a more interesting story than the Witcher books, but the Witcher books characterize the characters much better. So I'd like a little bit of both. Put a little peanut butter in my chocolate. To end, actually, well, don't forget that Multiverse of Madness is next week, and that's going to be just a time and a half.
We're like Multiverse of Gladness. We can't wait.
Wow.
Can't wait.
Hope it's not Multiverse of Sadness.
Sponsored by Glad.
We've got to hold the world together. This bag.
Are you going to be bummed if there's no madness in that movie? Do you think there's going to be madness?
Yes.
Would you be more bummed if there was no madness or no multiverse? Or no Doctor Strange?
What if there's no Doctor Strange?
You only get two.
Dang, dude.
Pick one to protect you and the other two are trying to hunt you. Doctor Strange, the multiverse, and madness. To end today's episode, I'd like for each of us to say our name and which Uncharted character we would like to see pop up in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. For 2 Chunks and a Hunk, my name is Jordan Wonders, and the answer is Scotty.
Aww.
Want him to pop through a portal and confuse everybody with his accent.
That's where the madness comes from.
Because they're so mad that they can't understand him. They just want to be his good friend.
Yep. I'm Doge and Antonio Banderas.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
As this character, whose name I don't remember.
Yeah, I was about to say, anybody remember his name?
Killed
Antonio
his dad.
Banderas, as angry himself, can be one of the members of the Illuminati.
He's so much about family that he slit his family's throat. What a guy.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for my family for years.
That was a pretty good Antonio Banderas.
That was a decent Antonio Banderas. Antonio Banderas would be so fun in a Fast movie.
Oh, my
Yes.
gosh.
Oh, what's going on? What have we missed?
Wow.
I'm Carter and Nathan Drake. So I think what's funny is like for the longest time, like, you know, they thought Peter Parker's been helping them, but he's like, who's Peter Parker?
Yeah.
Because he's just been Nathan Drake. He's actually been Nathan Drake the whole time. He's like, I don't know. He kind of moves like Pete.
Man.
He looks like he's got superhuman power. I was explaining that like Mark is there too. I don't know. He looks like Pete.
I don't know.
He's got his powers. He's jumping pretty well. Way to go, kid. There you go, kid.
For some reason, I just want to call this kid Tom.
Hey, Wizard, listen, Wizard. You're going to love this kid. I promise. You're going to love this
You
kid.
can love him. He's going to be great.
Just open up the portal, send everybody
He's a
home,
great
okay?
guy. Yeah. What is this, madness?
What is this? What is this? Some kind of multiverse? You're a pretty
madness
strange.
in here.
You're a pretty strange doctor, aren't you?
Here I am walking into the multiverse expecting a good time. All I got was madness.
I
What's
want
this
a new
about?
version of the MCU where none of the heroes have names and Mark Wahlberg himself accidentally keeps
Mark
naming
Wahlberg
them with
names
weird
them?
things. Yeah, he's just,
What are you, some kind of man made of iron?
Yeah,
What's going on there?
Some sort of spider guy?
You kind of a spider guy?
Some sort of
That's
spider
interesting.
guy?
Let's see, you were captain in the army, but you got an American flag on you? Captain America? What are you doing?
General Thousand Stripes?
What are you, power line with claws? What is this?
You some sort of purple cougar?
Purple